Times are booming on the Silverado and Rio Grande layout. The Silverado Timber Company needed some log cars, so we scratch built these. We're going to cover that today on KitBashered. Alright guys, so after scouring the internet high and low, looking at every skeleton log car I could find, this was the design that I came up with that I liked. The overall dimensions are 11 inches long, 3.5 inches wide, which scales out to be about 22 feet by 7 feet. The spine is 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, which scaled out to be 1 foot by foot. And then the basswood that I used for the bracing for the log deck was just what I thought looked right. The mock-up was used a lot through this build, and I made a lot of changes. Alright, so once I had my mock-up together, I went ahead and cut out the pieces that I needed out of the basswood on my bandsaw and used my sanding station to do the heavy sanding. I used this little sanding stick to finish things up. So after we got all of our pieces cut out, here's kind of an exploded view of what our skeleton log cars will look like. We're going to get these pieces prepped for paint. We'll paint them before we do the final assembly. Alright, our paint has had a chance to dry on the spines of our car. We went ahead and used the Cricut to make some stencils with our road name, road numbers. So what we're going to do now is we're going to measure in 2 inches from each end. That's the location of our trucks. And then we will cut out our stencils and then we'll place them in the middle so we can center them between the trucks. We'll put the road number to the right of that, and then we'll use the airbrush to put that on white. And once that's set up, we'll turn it over. We'll do the same exact thing on the other side. Alright, so we've got our road names on, we've got our numbers on, we did it on both sides. Quick tip, make sure that you remember the top from the bottom. I had 2 of these that I had to reshoot because I got the Silverado upside down from side to side. So just a quick tip. So that's where we're at with those. Alright, so we used the hot glue gun to get all of our brackets on. This is just temporary, hold them in place. Remember, we glued it all together with the top facing down, so now when we turn it over, everything's nice and flush on the top, and we can add our top pieces here, and everything is nice and flush, so those will set nice. Okay, so I got one of the log cars mocked up here on trucks. This is going to work out pretty cool, I think. I got these last pieces all painted up instead of the stain that I didn't care for very much. The paint, I think it just looks a little cooler to me. It looks a little more clean and finished. So what we're going to do is use a little bit of the Tight Bond 3 glue on here. We'll put that on with a little paintbrush to keep it nice and clean so we don't have a bunch of squeeze out. And we'll get these on here. We'll get this glued up. Alright guys, so we got the assembly done. So what we're going to do now is use a pin vise, and on the underside we're going to drill some pilot holes in preparation for installing the trucks. So here's our 3 skeleton log cars that we've been working on. We've got the spine and the cross members all assembled, the glue's all dried up. We've got our road name on there. We've got all of our road numbers. We went 2301, 2302, and 2303. These are the first cars I built this year, so that's the numbering system I went with. You can go with whatever you want. Got clear coat on everything. So we made these wedges earlier in the video, and we were going to use them after looking at prototypes when we came up with this design. Put on the end of these cross braces to support the logs, but I don't like them. And so we're going to change that. So what I did is I mocked up on our original mock-up where we had the larger spine. I like this. I got some styrene. This is some 3/16 styrene square tubing with some 1/8" tubing that's solid that slides in inside of it. I like that a lot better. Now the problem is it's going to be a little more modern. I'm trying to model the late 1800s, early 1900s. This is probably a little bit more modern than that, but it's my railroad, and who's to say that the Silverado Timber Company didn't come up with this technology? So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to cut these down a little bit. If I was going a little bit more modern, I'd leave them at the height they're at. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these down to about half. So this larger tubing sticks up about 1/2 inch, and the smaller stuff sticks up about 1/2 inch outside of it. Okay, so after we made some modifications using our mock-up, I went ahead and made the adjustments to our stakes, cutting them down, used the pin vise to drill some pilot holes, then I used the cordless drill to drill the mounting holes. I went down about 1/8 of an inch. I didn't go very far. Used a little bit of hot glue to get these things set, and then I'm going to use super glue around the edges. So after the super glue around the stake pockets dried, I went ahead and did a little bit of dry brushing with some silver and some rust on the areas, the wear surfaces on the top where the logs might rub, just to give it a little bit of a used look. I went ahead and installed the trucks, and that finished these up. So let's get a look at them out on the layout. Well, here they are out on the layout. I'm really pleased with the way that these ones turned out. Don't forget to hit that like button to subscribe to the channel for more content. Thanks for watching, and happy railroading.